Hello there, everybody. I would like to do a book review, more like book reviews, on The Fallen Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes and Rebel Springs, the second book in the series. And in the first book, I just love it. The cover art for both of the books is, amazing, which drew my attention to it. But I like fantasy novels and stuff. Anyways, so I thought that I would give this a shot, and I loved it. And I would say that even though this is classified as young adult fantasy fiction, I would still say anybody of any age should read this and give this a shot because, heck, I'm 28 years old and I loved it. Anyways, doesn't matter. Um, it is often compared to Game of Thrones and stuff, which I've never read any of the books or have watched the TV series or anything like that. So I can't really compare that with it. So I don't know. It could be comparable. It could be just as good. But anyways, basically, what takes place is there's this land called Mythica or Mythica. I'm not really sure how you pronounce it. I'm probably butchered it. Um, but yeah, there's this land and it's split up into three different kingdoms. You have right here Lemeros, Pelagia, and Aranos. And each kingdom, like it's they're each kingdom is definitely different from night and day. Yeah, you have Lemeros, which is kind of gloomy and cold. It's very cold there and dreary and just yeah. And then you have Pelagia, which they're kind of like the little dirt farmer people, like they're women on the totem pole. And then you have Aranos, where the people that are living there are living high on the hog. Like they have nice green lush land and it's warm there all the time. And it's just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And life is good there. And in the other two kingdoms, not so much. So you can kind of see where this is going, right? Yeah, there's going to be a war, obviously. And there's a lot going on. There's magic, because there's this quest for what they call the kindred. And there's elementa, which is magic. They have earth, air, fire, and water. And it's amazing. Like, all the depth and detail that goes into this story. And it gets told from four different perspectives, kind of. There's like four really main key players. I mean, all the characters are equally important in their own way. And, but like, there's four real main ones that you have. You've got the princess, which is Princess Cleona from Oranos, and aka Cleo. And there's the rebel, which is Jonas from Pelagia. And then you have the sorceress, which is Lucia, who was adopted into the Lemeros royal family. And then you have the heir, which is Prince Magnus from Lorenos. And, or is it Lemero? Yeah, Lemero. Um, yeah, sorry about the mispronunciation. I was thinking of Aranos, Lemeros. Kind of meshed them, but yeah, Lemeros. And Lucia and him are adopted siblings, obviously. Um, but, because I mean, if you pick it up and you read the back of the book, I'm not spoiling anything. They kind of tell you. So yeah. Um, but the cool thing about Lucia is they already kind of tell you that she's a sorceress, obviously, if you read the back, but her character, the cool thing is when you're reading her, you're just as equally surprised, even though you kind of know it, because she has to discover all of that for herself. So, it's really cool. but each character is like very interesting in their own way. Like you have Cleo, who she's kind of pampered, a little spoiled, because she lived in Uranus, and like I said, they have everything good there, you know, no problems, no real worries. And so she's kind of oblivious, in the beginning of the story, she's kind of oblivious to the problems that the other two kingdoms have. Because you have Lumeros, who, their land isn't all that good, they can't really grow good stuff there, and things like that. Like, they have a very harsh climate. And Pelagia, I mean, their people are, like, really poor. And their only claim to, like, fame or ability to have any real cash flow coming into their kingdom is their wine. Because the only thing that really grows well there are these grapes. Like, they have these vineyards, and so that's, like, the only real thing that they have going for them in Pelagia. And stuff. So that's kind of like the rundown with that and stuff. And like and as I was saying, the long and gist of it is basically there's going to be a war in the land of Matika amongst these three kingdoms and stuff. And it's kind of interesting. I mean, I don't want to spoil it, so I'm trying to be careful, because you've got to read this to figure out how it all unfolds. And it just gets, each page just gets better and better and better and better and better, because this has got betrayal, lies, bloodshed, and magic, and love, and there's mayhem, and all kinds of awesome stuff going on in here. This book has got everything. Because besides, like, the main characters, there's also the Watchers, who are kind of play into the magical element of the story, because they kind of are counting on the decisions and everything else that is going on with these other people, because the Watchers have their own issues as well, because they live in this sanctuary, which is like a parallel realm or world to Matika, or Mythica, because I'm not sure how you pronounce that. But yeah, the sanctuary is kind of a parallel realm to them, and the Watchers can only leave in the form of hawks. And they kind of watch out over the various characters in the books and stuff. Which in this first one, they kind of touch on it. Like, you kind of start seeing the Watchers develop into the plot of everything and stuff. Like, this is definitely, I read this like maybe a day and a half, maybe 2 days tops. Like, I could barely put this down. Like, it was that good. So, definitely read it. And then it just gets better with Rebel Spring. I mean, again, it's definitely, like, it's still being told through the points of view of Cleo and Magnus and Lucia and Jonas. But there's a lot of other players thrown in here, because as everything comes to a big climax, like, there's a lot more people getting involved now in the war and everything that's going on and stuff, because as I said before, Jonas is a rebel, so he's like leading this resistance against the King of Lumeros, who is King Gaius, the King of Blood, and he's just bad guy all around. Just, he's a jerk. I'm not really gonna say much about him, because he's a real nasty piece of work. He's horrible. I mean, come on, the guy's nickname is the King of Blood. I feel bad that Magnus and Lucia had to be brought up with him. That's all I'm saying about that. You've got to read both of these books. I mean, to find out. I mean, just the way that these just build on top of each other, just amazing. And so, yeah, definitely read these, because this just gets better. Like, the way that Morgan Rhodes, like, writes these, like, in both books, each chapter just kind of flows with the storyline and the plot and everything, just kind of goes. And I mean, which is awesome that it's that kind of smooth, because I have read some books where it's kind of choppy, like one chapter will be talking about one thing and this and that and whatever is going on in chapter, and then suddenly you'll get to the next chapter and then it totally goes off course from what you thought was going on. Like, I've read books like that where it can be very choppy and hard to keep track of what's going on, but not with these books, not with the way that she's doing this, because like in the first book, like you'll see that she'll start off with a chapter, and I'll show you the first chapter as an example. I mean, because each book's a little different with how she did this, but it's cool. Because it's awesome. Like, you'll start off with chapter 1 in the first book, and they'll explain to you that you're in the kingdom of Pelagia. And so, I mean, it makes it really easy to keep track of what's what and what's happening, you know? So that's really cool. And then I'll show you this, first chapter quickly of this. Now this is a little different because there's a lot of different points of views going on with this one, because you'll get a couple of different views from a couple of different people that aren't even like the main people. You'll see, you gotta read this. But yeah, this is just an example of what's going on here for the second book. Chapter 1, it's from Jonas's point of view, and it takes place in the kingdom of Aranos. So, see, like, it's definitely super easy to not get lost. This one, though, is a little more, I'm glad that she did it, because besides Cleo, Magnus, Lucia, and Jonas, there's a couple of other people whose points of view she kind of throws in there. Because you're going to definitely, between both these books, you're going to get introduced to a lot of characters. So, like, when I first picked this up and I saw, like, the cast of character thing for, like, each kingdom and stuff, I was kind of like, wow, you know? But it was no biggie. Like, I wasn't all that overwhelmed after I got reading. I'm like, it got easy to keep track of who was who. For maybe the first few chapters or so, I might have had to make references back to those pages. But once you read the first book, though, definitely by here, you're really not going to need to do that. I mean, it's kind of cool that she still has, because since they introduced the new characters, like, it's kind of cool that she still does that with the cast of characters and stuff. See, I don't know if you can see that good like that, but yeah. I mean, it's definitely cool that she does that with that, and it's definitely helpful. And like I said, I can't say enough good things about this series. Like, I'm looking forward to Gathering Darkness when it comes out this month. Like, I can't wait to pick that up. But yeah, this is definitely one of those series that's going to keep you screaming and wanting for more. Like, definitely a lot of feels with these books. Like, oh my gosh, like, so much stuff going on. And I don't want to spoil anything, so I don't want to give too much away. But yeah, like I said, this has everything. Lies, betrayal, there's war. I mean, you name it, it's happening. And there's definitely a very layered and definitely kind of a deep story. It's amazing, which is why I said, age-wise, I recommend anybody to read this. I mean, it's young adult, teen, adult, like, read it, because that's awesome. Like, there's, like, the political aspect of it, and all, like I said, how each kingdom has a stake in what is going on. And I don't know, when I first read the first book, I was kind of, like, on the fence. Like, I was talking to somebody about reading a book, and I was kind of, like, on the fence about where I stood with some of the stuff, because each person has their own reasons and their own agendas for why they're doing what they're doing, and some of them good, some of them bad, but yeah, you can kind of see their point if you keep it open-minded and try to stay unbiased while you're reading this. You can kind of see where everybody kind of has their own reasons for doing what they're doing. I mean, except for King Ice. I mean, he's just a frickin' jerk. Like I said, he's basically power hungry and wants it all. So he's just plain outright greedy. That's his take on stuff. Like, more power he can have, the happier he'll be. So he's selfish and stuff, so definitely not a character to like. So with him, can't really agree with him. But all the other characters, yeah, you can kind of see why some of them are starting to do what they're doing, because they're caught up in all of this and what is going on. And I will explain to you this much. I mean, King Gaius is kind of like, you'll have to see, because he's gonna try to. I'll tell you this much. I mean, he kind of wants to take it all, as you can tell. I mean, come on, there's one land, 3 kingdoms. Each kingdom has a ruler, but you've always got that one guy that wants to take everything. And that's King Gaius. So, yeah, and you kind of feel bad for his son Magnus, because he's got a lot to live up to with his father. Like, he kind of see where his character feels conflicted, because he feels like his father has expectations of him and he's not going to live up to them or meet them. And he kind of is a very aloof character. I've got to say, he might be one of my favorite characters, Prince Magnus. Even though he kind of comes from Lemeros and stuff, and you can kind of maybe see them as bad guys. Maybe. Like I said, it's kind of hard to tell sometimes, even by the second book. Like I said, you can see where each person, each place has their own reasoning for doing what they're doing. But I think out of all the characters, if I really have to pick a favorite, it's probably Prince Magnus and Princess Cleo. Because they're definitely, within both books, they've had a lot of growth in their characters and their story development and everything. So they're like amazing. They're great. Prince Magnus, I might actually like him, like I said, a little better even. He might be my top because of how complex he is. He's got a lot going on. And he's definitely that kind of guy that every girl kind of likes. He's kind of dark and mysterious, and yeah. So he's kind of got that going on for him. So some of the characters in the book, you could kind of see where, yeah, he's got some issues in the ladies' department in these stories. But it's definitely for very good reasons. Well, maybe good. Well, you'll see. He's definitely kind of a looker, according to the book, so yeah. But if they ever turn it into a movie, that'd be cool, because I'd kind of see who they'll get to play each part. But I would say that these even have that potential. They kind of have that potential to become a film. Or films. But yeah, we'll see about that one. But anyways, as far as this is concerned, read these. Read them. They're good. Pick them up. I promise you. Definitely worth the read. Because like I said, I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, that's my take on it. They're awesome. And like I said, as far as character-wise, Magnus has got my vote. Cleo has my vote. I'm not discounting Jonas or Lucia, but yeah, so far though, Cleo and Magnus are kind of my top 2 faves. And as far as relationship issues go, and shipping and shipments, as because people are so into that these days with everything, that I would rather not touch that right now, because spoilers. I mean, I'd have to spoil if I give my thoughts on that. Maybe not. I'll at least say this much about it. It can go because there's definitely romance in here, and it can go several different ways for these characters. Because you have Cleo, who she kind of had a love interest with this guard Theon. And she is or was, cause, this is hard to word without spoilers, without spoiling stuff, but there was an arranged marriage, there was or is an arranged marriage, between her and this Lord Aaron, who's a character in there, and I don't want to talk too much about that. I don't want to get into a lot of stuff, because I want you guys to read the books. They're awesome. But yeah, there's that. And she, like I said, there was Theon. Also, Jonas, you can kind of see a Cleo and Jonas thing maybe happening. And heck, even a Cleo and Magnus thing. And, well, anyways, like I said, I really don't want to get into the whole ship mythics video will go on forever. Anyways, yes. So I'm going to wrap that up. And maybe I'll do another video later on about that. Anyways, comment, rate, subscribe, leave your thoughts about the books if you've read them down below, or even if you haven't read them and you think that you might, comment me up. Anyways, hope that you guys liked this video, and I hope that it wasn't too long. As you can tell, I really like this series so far. Anyways, bye.